Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Monday Night Must See TV with the Hudson Valley Squares. We're staying in 1982. More album wars. We're going to continue this for another couple weeks. We've got in the house today Lynne Versace, Butch Jones, Chris Allo, our center square, Chris Canzaneri, Ryan Scow, Steve Keeler, and Sydney Taylor. What's up, Squares? How are you?
Hey.
Hello.
What's going on?
Are we ready tonight? Are we ready for the battle between Kiss, Creatures of the Night, and Y&T Black Tiger, both from 1982? As we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, we're going to go one by one. Everybody's going to talk a little bit about each one, which one they like more and why. And then we'll move on to the next, and we'll, in fact, now that reminds me, I got to get my pad out because I got to keep track of the score. So we're going to go Lynne, Butch, Chris, Ryan, Steve, Sydney, and myself. So Miss Lynne, what do you got?
So this was really a no contest for me because, I love Kiss. Don't get me wrong. I just personally, I don't think Creatures of the Night is a great album for me.
Wow.
For me.
Right.
So nice look, Sydney. I saw that. For me.
I respect it. You're good.
She gave me the old.
Say what?
I mean, for me, it's just not, I don't know. I mean, I love it loud, right? That's one of my favorite Kiss tunes. So that's cool. And that's on the record. I Still Love You is okay. War Machine, that's a great song. But that was really about it for me. And the other ones are okay. I don't like the front of the record at all. Kind of freaks me out. The back of the record's kind of cool. But so for me, it was no contest because Black Tiger from Y&T, like I love the cover of the record. I mean, from the intro till the end, I mean, I don't know, Forever, Falling for You. You're the End of the Rainbow for me. Like just when they sang that back in the day when I was listening, it's like, like for me as a girl that grew up back then, we liked all that corny shit, for a guy to be singing, You're the End of the Rainbow for me. It was like, oh my God, I mean, I know you guys aren't thinking that, but that's what, right? Me and my girlfriends were thinking, Don't Want to Lose, Hell or High Water. I don't know, a Barroom Boogie. I think it's a sexy song, My Way or the Highway. It ends with Winds of Change. I love the guitar. I mean, and Maniketti's voice is just, I love his voice. I just do. Better than I love Gene and Paul's. I know I'm going right to hell because all the Kiss fans are going to yell at me. But I love Maniketti's voice. I love when he comes to the club, like Butch will tell you, like he hangs out with everybody. He's so nice and he's a great guy. I love his guitar playing. So for me, it was no contest. I pick Y&T.
All right.
Mad respect to Kiss, though. Mad respect. I just didn't love it. I love a couple of the songs, but I love more of the songs on Y&T for me.
All right. Hey. 1-0, Black Tiger. Butch.
Brilliant album, without a doubt. I think I mentioned this on the show once before. I kind of found out about Y&T from a flexi disc and a Kerrang magazine in '82. And it was promoting Black Tiger. So this was my intro to them. Amazing record, one of the greatest guitar tones of the 80s. I've talked to Maniketti about the tone. It is tremendous. Chris Sangarides produced it, one of my top 3 album producers of all time, known for his great guitar tones that he was able to get. But I got to tell you, there's some phenomenal songs, but the star of this record is the drummer that never gets talked about, Leonard Hayes. Leonard Hayes. Everybody talks about John Bonham having the greatest right foot in rock history. He did. He had a great foot, and Leonard Hayes listened to him. Leonard Hayes had the fastest right foot I've ever heard. The stuff he did on all the records, especially the early records, the first 3, without a doubt, phenomenal. But Black Tiger, just like Lynne said, from the intro, when you've never heard this before, you have no idea what's coming. They hear the intro from the Moon going into Black Tiger, going into Open Fire. It's just like, whoa, what's this? And it's just sets the stage for the record. Just tremendous. And Dave Medicaid is still in the top 5 guys that has not lost his voice. So he's got to be getting close to 70, and he sounds phenomenal.
Wasn't
Guitar
Max
playing
Norman?
What's that?
Wasn't Max Norman also involved on that, or was he the producer for the rest of the records?
Oh, did I get it backwards? I know.
Yeah, Max Norman was involved in that record.
Did he do this one? Singarides must have done.
He did.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if
Jesus,
that
what's the
was
album after this?
earlier.
Mean Street.
Thank you, Jesus Christ.
He did.
That was because Mean Streak was. I found out about this record first, but I got Mean Streak first. So that's why I have that on my and I'm looking right. I have the album right here. I'm just not looking at it. I was thinking Singarides did, but yeah,
that's fine. I just wasn't sure. Yeah, I was like I couldn't remember if it was that album or a different one. So.
And I'm glad you said that, because that just makes my point even more, because Max Norman is my favorite producer and is the guy that gets the greatest guitar tunes. Sangarides got some great tones too. John Sykes on Thin Lizzy's Thunder and Lightning. So John Sykes, drink everybody.
Milk carton.
There's that. So just a tremendous record. And then Creatures of the Night. Now, who would have thought that a Kiss record that has Ace Frehley on the cover would not have Ace Frehley on the actual album, but would have Steve Ferris from Mr. Mister playing guitar on it, and the great jazz legend Robin Ford. Robin Ford and Steve Ferris, but no Ace Frehley. So that's odd. But to me, this is in my top 3 Kiss albums. I love this album. The song Danger is absolutely my favorite song on this album. You know, yes, the War Machines is great, and Love It Loud and all that stuff, awesome. But Danger is, to me, is the hidden gem on this record that no one ever talks about. I Still Love You is a great song. Vinnie Vincent obviously is on this album too. He's the 3rd guy that plays on this besides Ferris and Robin Ford. But yeah, and that's also the last album.
Hey,
did we lose?
Butch froze.
Is that me?
I couldn't tell if it was me or not.
Where'd Butch go?
Did I freeze?
Back.
Yeah,
I'm good on mine. Am I back? Okay.
Yeah.
You're back.
Anyway, yeah. So I love this Kiss record. This is probably my top 3. I love Steve Ferris is a great guitar player. For people that don't know, if you just know Mr. Mister and know the pop stuff, Steve Ferris is a nasty guitar player. So don't be surprised that he's actually on this record. But Robin Ford was the one for me that was really odd. It's like, wow, Robin Ford?
I mean, you would never, ever in a million
So
years
what are you
think that
picking?
Robin Ford would be on a Kiss album, right?
I know, exactly. But Lindsay, this is exactly why I did it this way, because you don't know which way I'm going. That's the whole
No,
point.
I don't. Dork.
I know.
So we got a game to watch. So
It's
let's
be,
go.
It has to be Black Tiger because of Leonard
I
Hayes.
was gonna say you were gonna
It's-
really
it's-
get me mad.
Yeah, I messed you up because I went with that first. See, I did that on purpose. No,
And
Black
it's a
Tiger,
sad
man.
thing that Leonard Hayes is gone.
It is, but this record, it just sounds so good still 40 years later. Production is awesome. Medicaid has come through our area here in Poughkeepsie, New York at the chance pretty much yearly for the last 15 years. So I've gotten the chance to speak to him a bunch of times about this record, about
And
that
I didn't know he
tone.
was almost 70. He doesn't even look like that.
He figured
They're all getting up there.
He looks great.
I mean,
No, he
they're
looks
all
great.
old as shit,
Here's a
so-
way for you to think about how old he probably is Van Halen used to open for Y&T on the Sunset Strip in the late 70s.
Starwood.
Okay, I don't want to talk
So-
about age.
Yeah, because that first Y&T album was what, 77 or 76?
Yeah, I think it's 76.
Yeah.
I think it's
When
76.
when they were yesterday and today.
Yeah.
Yesterday and today,
Yeah.
Yep, long ass time ago. Wow, so
Yeah, definitely a
Y&T's
little
my
older
pick.
than me, probably.
2-0
Gotta be.
Y&T.
Woohoo!
Wow.
Right.
Yay, Butchie.
Oh.
We had a lot of people predicting this was going to be a Kiss blowout today. I don't think that's going to happen. Interesting.
Don't fuck with Medicaid.
That's right.
All right, Mr. Allo.
Okay. Yeah, I have very different takes than Butch and Lynn. To me, I was not a Y&T fan. I'm still not. When I heard Summertime Girls, I was like, oh, that's a nice, goofy little Bon Jovi kind of song. And
See, but
oh,
that's
look,
different.
There's a
Yeah, I know.
it's the
That's
same
not
band.
why.
I'm
yeah,
with
but
you.
that's
I'm
different,
with
but
you. I agree with you.
It's the same band. I'm like,
No.
there's a robot in the video, and I'm like, wow, there's a really hot girl
It's the song
and a
that
hot
everyone
dog in the
knows.
video. that's
It's a
totally
fun
hot.
song. You can't lie.
But
With you
that
on
was
that,
my
Chris.
introduction to Y&T, and that
No.
was it for years. You know, in the '90s, in the '80s too. I mentioned it on one of Pete's other shows. Like a buddy gave me his collection of metal albums. I had another buddy give me his like old vintage Star Wars figures. I had another guy give me his vintage Mego superheroes. Like as a super collector,
nice.
I would inherit stuff from people. In fact, I saw these on the shelf, so I figured I'd grab these. Of course, these are from the '70s. These are the original vintage Kiss Migos. But you know, I only consider myself a moderate Kiss fan because I've only seen them like 13 times. But I was never a Y&T guy. Anyway, to go back to the albums, I did inherit Black Tiger and Mean Streak on vinyl, and I listened to that one song, Mean Streak, a lot because I really like that song.
Good song.
Honest to God, I don't know if I ever listened to Black Tiger until today.
Oh my God.
I really didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like 2-3 songs in, Dave Meniketti's voice was totally driving me up a wall.
What?
I just didn't like
You're
it.
high.
You know, it's not my thing. I saw them live once in Europe, and they were really good. I always heard they were a good live band, and they absolutely were. But you know, it just wasn't for me. You know, and as far as being a Kiss fan, I don't have the same love as say Christian as Peter and Pete from like absolutely being a big fan from the '70s. But man, as far as Kiss goes, Creatures of the Night is my all-time favorite Kiss record because it's the heaviest Kiss record. I don't care who plays guitar on it. It's a heavy fucking record. Yeah, I love that Lynne gets scared by the cover because I thought it was
Good.
as a kid, I thought it was a scary
I
cover.
didn't say I was scared. I said I don't like it.
Listen, you were scared just like you get scared by Slayer and Merciful Fate. Don't
No,
back
I don't
off
get
out of this.
fucking scared for Slayer.
Okay, all right, yeah, all right. Anyway, my pick by a landslide, absolutely, is Creatures of the Night on this one. You know, no offense, Y&T fans. If you're offended, you get your panties out of a twist. It's okay. But yeah, I'm going Creatures of the Night.
All right, cool.
Bummer.
2-1. All right, Cans, you're up. Our center square.
All right. I've never owned either one of these albums.
Wow.
I had Mean Streak when I was a kid, and I was a huge Kiss fan when I was a kid. Somehow both of these passed me by. I mean, there's no way to live on this earth without hearing probably 3/4 of the songs on Creatures of the Night eventually, though, and I have heard them a million times each. And I actually listened to Black Tiger a few times like last year, so I wasn't like coming in cold. But as a Kiss fan, you know, Creatures of the Night, what a kick-ass album. That's what I'm picking. You know, they were never the same after that. You know, Eric Carr came in, Ace was gone. They brought in outside writers for the first time, or, you know, on almost every song for the first time. And it worked. You know, Bryan Adams, and I mean, I think he had a hand in War Machine and one of the other, Rock and Roll Hell, I think.
Yep.
You know, who'd have thought Bryan Adams, you know, got to start doing some cool music? Because I think everything else he did sucks, but whatever.
Oh, come on now. Cuts Like a Knife is a great record.
Okay, you know, whatever. Did that come out in '82? Because we could talk about that some other day.
81 or 82.
Okay.
Keith Scott, great guitar player.
Yeah. All right, cool. But yeah, Creatures of the Night for me. It's kind of like they're Black and Blue, you know, like the Stones were sort of trying out a few different guitarists. A bunch of guys played on this. Although I think Vinnie Vincent did most of the lead work. But yeah, killer album, love it. So I'm going with Kiss.
All right. We got a tie. Deadlocked. Now that we're halfway through everybody. All right, Mr. Scow.
All right. Well, I was giving this one some thought because all the previous weeks I had, I was very invested in those albums, listened to those albums a lot. This week, I'll be honest, I had never heard this Kiss album up until about 4 days ago. I just never bothered with it. I've never been a big Kiss fan. I did see them when I was 18, and I actually saw them with you, Pete, a couple of years ago. Some interesting incidents there. But it really wasn't until I got Alive, the live album, a couple of years ago. I'm like, all right, I kind of get it now. It kind of clicks in. But I was just never a big Kiss fan. And everything without the 4 original guys, I just never bothered with. People like, check out Revenge, check out this. I'm like, all right, I could just listen to Iron Maiden and Slayer, who I know I love. I put it on, and it's definitely heavy. Like Chris said, it's a heavy freaking album. The fact that Ace isn't on it, Peter's not on it, Ace is on the cover, but he's not on the album. I don't know. I got no emotional investment in that. it's like so I listened to it a couple times, but I don't know, it didn't leave a real big impression on me. As far as Y&T, I had Earthshaker, Black Tiger, and Mean Streak, and these albums I do like a lot. It's like right on the hairy edge of like kind of getting a little too soft, a little too mellow, hard rockish for just what I'm into, But no, it's good stuff. I like Butch said, the intro going into the track "Open Fire" is fucking awesome. Maniketti's vocals. Sorry, Chris, I do like him. I like Mean Streak. I like a little more, but it's not a band I'm like super invested in. And I'll be honest, like you guys said, they've played locally, like it's like they've played every week, and I only live like 20 minutes away, and I've never gone to see them. So I don't know. Maybe I should correct that if they come around again.
That's because you're in Wichita seeing some band that weekend.
That's true. I was in Chicago this past weekend, had a great time. But yeah, for me, I'm gonna go with Black Tiger because
Wow.
I think it's a good album. Not one of my favorite bands. I'm not huge into either band, but I don't even own the Kiss album, and like I said, I only heard it last week, so definitely gonna be Y&T for me. Sorry, Steve.
All right, cool.
See your face.
3-2 in favor of Y&T. All right, Mr. Keeler.
Oh man, I haven't listened to Black Tiger probably since the 80s. So that might give you a hint on where I'm going. I listened to it today twice. I liked it better the second time around, but boy, there's no way that I can put that over Creatures of the Night in my book, because it doesn't have War Machine. It doesn't have, I love the song Creatures of the Night. No one's really talked about how that starts off, comparing it to how Y&T start off. I think that's this was a statement of Kiss coming back to being heavy, no matter who's playing on it. I love Danger. Like Butch said, that song kicks ass. It's heavy duty. Rock and Roll Hell. I got that in my head still. I Still Love You, one of Paul's great ballads. War Machine, my connection with pro wrestling, and Taz from ECW, right, Chris Allo?
Absolutely.
War Machine, and just War Machine, I think, is better than anything on the Black Tiger. On Black Tiger, I like Open Fire. I'm not a giant Y&T guy. I probably I had Mean Streak. I like Mean Streak better. I had all these records growing up, but I haven't gone back to them. I got to see Y&T a couple years ago when Doro Pesh was playing a chance. She did an in-store at my shop earlier in the day, and we went up and checked them out. And Y&T, great live band. I mean, they played forever too. We ended up going on the bus with Doro and came in and back, and they were still playing after we were on the bus for like 45 minutes. But there's no way. It's a landslide for me. I agree with Chris. I'm going Creatures from the Night, man. Creatures of the Night, rather.
All right.
And Killers. I just think there's too many great Kiss songs, and I think it's the heaviest Kiss album.
It's just without a doubt, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, 3-3.
It's not very scary.
It's just dark and blue and purple. All
And
right,
this
so
is actually an album I've got. I bought some records
And
from
fungal.
Kiss's managers earlier in the year.
He putting the album in front of the
Yeah,
mic
Steve,
again.
what happened there? You were
Yeah,
sounding so good.
We talked about this, Steve. We talked about this.
Now it's too
Steve pulls the props out, and all of a sudden the voice is gone.
He fades off into the abyss. There he goes.
He's
bad.
still talking.
These from former manager Peter and Aces, and he was moving to Naples. I should have wrote his name down for the episode, but got a bunch of cool stuff. Is it still Steve? Still can't hear me even if it's this close?
You put it down. Put it down.
Pass, Steve, pass.
Maybe it's like an interference
That's
electrically.
weird that it interferes from here. That
Didn't
doesn't
he
make any
save him?
sense. Does it really? But anyhow, I got those all from former manager of Peter and Aces. He got something. He worked with the whole reunion back in the 90s, and actually got his speakers here also that were Gene Simmons, and they were Meatloaf speakers I have in this room. So kind of cool.
Oh. Very cool.
Anyhow, I'm done.
All
I
right.
can't
got
hold
John
up any
Boyce
records
LeBaron.
anymore.
I don't know, Steve, with the props, it just like get the
I'm getting a new microphone. I don't care this week.
I thought you got a new
Straight in the
microphone.
garbage.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one sounds fine.
Yeah.
You
Well, there you
can't
go.
show anything if it's one with it. Like other people can show stuff and they still get to hear them.
But you put it in front of your
That's
face and like.
Yeah, but even if I hold it,
That's it.
And that's it. Exhibit A. Here's Steve. Here's
Nothing can come within 5 feet of this microphone and it'll shut off.
We all think this the feature that you're not using on the mic. We think you got the mic set to the wrong thing.
It's gotta
Yeah.
be. It's gotta be.
That's
'cause
gotta be it.
it sounds spectacular otherwise. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a new mic this week. Don't
They're
worry.
real and they're spectacular.
I'm gonna get the one that Butch has got, the clip on that they use on TV.
Lynn, did you just quote the Seinfeld episode? That was Seinfeld.
Did.
Yeah, she missed my quote before with the 83
Yeah.
LeBaron. I
Oh,
got
He
John Boyce
said
LeBaron.
They're spectacular.
Dolores.
So I said, they're real and they're spectacular.
Dolores.
ugh.
Sorry.
All right, Sydney, please help us escape from this lunacy.
All right. So
Leave it.
this one was definitely interesting because when you first gave us this topic, or like, these two against each other, I thought I knew what I was going to pick. And, I really this past week kind of dove into both of them and listened to both of these records, a couple times over. And I actually changed my mind. I was listening again to both of them today and I was like, you know what? I think I'm actually going to go with this one instead, which I didn't think I was going to, but I surprised myself. So I do want to start out with the fact that I really do love Y&T. They are, I think, in my opinion, one of the most underrated hard rock bands of the time. Which is really funny because they influenced, like Butch said, they, Van Halen opened up for them and like they were playing the Starwood and like they influenced so many of the bands that we saw later in the 80s. So it's like the fact that they are so underrated while all of the bands that they influenced are like so big is so crazy. But Dave Meniketti is really one of the most underrated vocalists and guitarists, I think, of that time period. Again, such an influence. I love this album. It's probably not my all-time favorite Y&T album. I do love Earthshaker. I love Mean Streak. That's right up there. It's up there. I love like all of you said who picked this album. The opening, instrumental into Open Fire, and I really think that it is a solid album. They're both solid records that we're talking about today. But for me, as much as I love Y&T, and I think that they are so, like I said, underrated and deserve so much more praise than they got, I personally had to go with Kiss on this one. I re-listened to it, like I said, a bunch of times this week. And to me, when we're looking at where they were at this point in time, this is obviously really the record that kind of revived their career in the 80s. You had Dynasty, you had Unmasked, you had The Elder, which, I personally really like Dynasty and Unmasked. I know that that's kind of sometimes a controversial debate. And, we all know how The Elder went. So, kind of coming out of that and, bringing something like, Steve mentioned and, Chris mentioned, something that was a lot heavier. And, I know I Love It Loud is the big single from this, but honestly, I like a lot of songs on this more than I Love It Loud. Creatures in the Night is a really great opener. Rock and Roll Hell is great. Danger, like Butch said, is a fantastic one. I Still Love You is one of the greatest songs I think that Paul Stanley has ever written. It's a beautiful song, dare I say, beautiful coming from Kiss. But I really love this one overall. It's really memorable. Arguably their best album from the 80s. This is before they got into kind of the hair era or whatever you want to call it. Kind of more commercial esque type vibe. So I got to go with Creatures. Like I said, I love both of these albums. I think that they're really solid and it's hard for me to pick one, but I got to go with Kiss.
Hey,
Nice,
can I
4
say
to 3.
something before you give your pick? No, we're all said, so none of us have really said that we hate Creatures, because I love Creatures and everything, and it is absolutely the heaviest record that they ever did. But the thing that people seem to forget about that record, it didn't do well.
Yeah.
And the tour was a flop.
It was a total flop. They
didn't even
canceled
play New
dates.
York.
And people forget too, which blows my mind, is that in 1982, they were 82, 83, a band that was been around for 10 years. They were fighting off the Christian faith all over, that where people were banning their shows and stuff, a band that had been around for years. So between that and the commercial flop, that's why they pulled the makeup. So yeah, this album should have revitalized their career, because it was such a great record.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one of those we could probably do a whole episode on albums that should have been huge but weren't.
I definitely
But
think, yeah, looking back, maybe I phrased that the wrong way. Like,
No, I mean,
No,
this
yeah.
should have, yeah.
No, you phrased it right.
definitely,
Yeah.
like you look back on the catalog and it's like, yeah, after those 3 albums in the early
Right.
80s where like Dynasty and Unmasked, they definitely went to like a poppier place, you know, to come back with that, you know, yeah. So, I mean, looking back on it, it probably should have revived their career more than it did. But yeah, no, I know what you guys are saying.
And it's interesting that when they started the tour for Lick It Up at Forward, they played a shit ton of songs off of Creatures and re-released Creatures with a new cover with them without makeup, and that's where it started to sell.
Right.
You got that copy, Chris? You got a copy of that one?
I got it somewhere.
Yeah, I don't have that one.
You'll
I've
never
seen
let
that
us
in
down.
Years. But,
Didn't
yeah,
It's in the
Dice
garage
is-
somewhere.
is,
Yeah, you know what
Aren't
the
there
problem
3
was, I think,
covers?
with Kiss is that
Was there a third cover?
I know that there's one with Bruce Kulick
Yes.
on it. And I think that they did one with Vinnie Vincent on it without the makeup. I think I could be wrong.
See, I don't remember that one. I remember
I
the
know,
one with
I know there's a
Bruce.
Kulick one.
Yeah.
Knights and Satan Service. That's what they were.
But yeah,
going
they
after.
had a lot of shit from all these people that were suddenly, banning their concerts and picketing their concerts. I'm like, wait, these guys have been around for 10 years. They did a fucking movie from Hanna-Barbera, for Christ's sake.
That was all the
Why are
early.
you, why are you
80s. They were-
fighting with them now?
AC/DC was after AC/DC was after Christ, the Devil Comes.
Right, but Kiss
Knights
really
and
got a lot
Satan
of shit.
Service, but-
And they were already in the toilet for, unfortunately for this record.
Yeah, they struck back hard, right?
Yeah. I mean, things worked out for them in the long run.
Yeah, it sure did.
I think another thing too is like a lot of their fans were really young during the first era in the 70s, and a lot of kids kind of grew up and moved on to other bands, especially after
Great point.
Dynasty and those couple of albums. So even though this came out and this returned to really darker, heavier stuff, the kids weren't listening anymore, right? So they had to go out and find a new audience, which they did, starting pretty much with Lick It Up. So
Right.
I remember
Great
when
point.
it came out, Pete, just if I can put one point in, when this came out and how, this was way before I had the store, but I was doing the flea markets and fairs. But when this came out, you had people in the metal community at the time that were listening to the heavier stuff say, hey, you got to listen to this Kiss because they're back and it's heavy. Hearing War Machine and Creatures. And you're like, yeah, that brought me back to Kiss because I had dropped them, in the late 70s with the disco era and all that. A lot of everybody did, and it kind of brought them back. And what the Sydney said, then they went back to a more commercial status after this album, of course, and they did quite well in the 80s with that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
big time.
I personally
So-
felt betrayed by
All right,
Unmasked.
Peter, it's up to you.
What's that, Chris?
I said, as a kid who liked them back then and was a young fan, I felt betrayed when Unmasked came down. I'm like, ooh, Unmasked, they're going to actually show their faces. You got to get this and look inside, and
Nope.
and then they take the masks off and it's the makeup underneath. And I was like, fuck these guys. You're never doing this to me again. So I pretty much went away until Lick It Up came out,
Yeah, I think a lot of us did the same thing. So
But that was a huge missed opportunity. Like Unmasked would have been a great name for Lick It Up had they not
Sure.
used that name already. I mean, Lick It Up was a fine name, but I always thought, well, geez, you
That again.
kind of shot yourselves in the foot on this one.
Yep.
Yep.
all right, so it's 4-3 in favor of Kiss right now. So I'm the last one here. So all right, I have been tormenting over this one for 2 days. And I will honestly say that here we are, right smack in the middle of this episode, and I still haven't made up my mind. So
Wow.
I'm gonna have to make a decision like right now.
Like
Flip
now.
the coin, everyone.
Flip that
You
coin,
want me to
son.
do the coin toss?
Like when the waiter's waiting at the table and you're the last guy. You're
I
like,
know, right? You ever,
Yeah.
and that's happened to me many times. Like, let them go
All
first.
right, I'll
To
just
come
get
back,
the
I still
BLT.
got the menu, and I'm like, I don't know what I want. What would you recommend? Whatever. All right, so here's the deal. I think both of these are really strong albums. Y&T. This is a really, really good album, a really fun album. It's a great sounding album. I agree with everything everybody said. I mean, his vocals are outstanding. Meniketti, he's a great guitar player as well. There's great songs on here. I mean, Open Fire is killer. Don't Want to Lose is killer. Forever, killer. Barroom Boogie, really good. Winds of Change, terrific song. I think I like Earth Shaker and Mean Street a little bit better than this one.
Really?
But yeah, they're all three are great. And I will say for those people, for those of you watching who maybe kind of stopped listening to Y&T after the 80s, their last couple albums are really good. They've done some really strong albums of late. I know it's been a while, but so I really like this a lot. And I really like this a lot too. I think the title track and War Machine, the bookends of this album are amazing. Saint and Sinner is a great song. Danger is a great song. I never need to hear I Love It Loud again. Keep Me Comin's pretty good. Rock and Roll Hell is pretty good. I Still Love You is a good tune. Killer is good. I don't know.
I pick Kiss.
Well, here's where I'm going to go.
So flip usually
when I'm flip a coin. Exactly. No, usually when I'm like in a conundrum like this, I have to say, all right, I like both of these albums pretty much equally, but which three songs do I like that is going to tip the scale? So if I look at this album, I can figure out the three that I probably like the most. And then if I look at this album, I look at the three that I really like the most. And I'm going to choose right now, Creatures of the Night, Danger, and War Machine are going to beat anything on Black Tiger here. So I'm going to go with Kiss as well, which gives Kiss the win today. We would have had a tie if I went with Black Tiger, but there's no losers here because these are both, I think, really, really strong records. And if there's anybody watching that hasn't heard either one of these, well, there's your homework. Go out and listen to them.
I'd like to share real quick. I did a poll on my Twitter like I did last week just to kind of see what the masses thought. Right now with 91 votes, Creatures of the Night got 68% and then Black Tiger got 32. So, I mean, a little bit more favorable in Kiss too, but definitely more for the opposing vote than it was last week. So
I wonder how many of those people actually listened or they're just going, oh, Kiss, because they don't really know.
I mean, that was what I was going to say. I mean, Kiss
I don't know if
is a
that's really like,
band.
let's responses.
It's a popularity contest.
One person said absolutely no comparison. Creatures of the Night is Kiss at the most heaviest and certainly the most underrated album of their career. Somebody else said Creatures for me is second favorite Kiss album. Creatures is a top 5 Kiss album. I prefer Creatures, but Black Tiger kicks ass too. This is not a fair fight. Creatures has Eric Carr and Michael James Jackson in its corner. Kiss's best work since '77. Black Tiger goes home with its tail between its legs, which is a very strong opinion. I don't really think I think that Black Tiger is just as good as Creatures, but that's what the people are saying. So.
It'll be interesting to see what the Sea of Tranquility commenters say, because I know for a fact we have a lot of Kiss haters who hang out on Sea of Tranquility. So
bad.
I think Black Tiger may get a lot of votes just because of that. So
they are a much bigger band overall. So I think
a lot.
Yeah, that's
without a question.
polls always a popularity contest.
Since we're talking about,
Totally.
since we're talking about Kiss, maybe just make a mention. A local guy that used to work with Kiss who passed away last year, mentioned Fran Stuber, and rest in peace, Fran.
Yep.
I was just talking to somebody about Kiss today, and every time I talk about Kiss, I think of Fran and how tragic.
It's hard not to.
How tragic it was to lose him. He grew up in the same area. I remember him shopping in my store and seeing him in his local bands around here. And of course, just wanted to make a mention of that for you.
Rest in peace. Yep. Exactly. So cool. Well, there we have it. Kiss wins this one among the panel. 5 votes to 3. It was a pretty close one. So thanks everybody for watching another album war from 1982. Stay tuned for yet another one next week. So I will be divulging that one over the next couple of days. So stay tuned for that. And I want to thank everybody here for joining. Lynn and Butch and Chris and Ryan and Steve and Sydney, and we haven't done this in a long time, but our center square, Mr. Canzaneri, final thoughts for today.
Final thoughts?
Yes.
Well, I went and did a little reading on both of these albums, and one thing that stuck in my head that I haven't said yet, Creatures of the Night got 1.5 stars out of 10 from Pitchfork.
Oh,
and that was a ringing endorsement for me, because whenever Pitchforks hate something, it's good.
Pitchfork.
Hate that fucking site.
I don't know what it is.
Can I say
I
one
don't know
more?
what Pitchfork is.
Hipster music asshole site.
That's why I don't know it.
Terrible.
Pitchfork fans.
Yep. Yeah, their reviews are generally not that great.
Terrible.
Sydney, what would you?
I just wanted to say I'm curious if anybody who watches has one of these, or if any of you know somebody who has one of them. I read that some of the earliest pressings of the record actually contained one full side of a John Cougar album because both Kiss and John Cougar were on the same label at the time. So if any of you have that, I'm curious because
I remember that. I remember that, Sydney. I remember that, but I never came across one.
Yeah, I'm just curious if anybody watching or might have.
I wonder
one
how
and
many
just-
left the factory like that.
Yeah.
say, but
Gotta be out there.
just thought I'd add a little fun fact.
How many people put that on with a buzz and say, "What the fuck happened to Kiss?"
I like Johnny Cougar.
Wait a minute, this isn't Kiss. I do remember that being talked about back then, though. Now you
I
jogged my.
remember vaguely remember hearing something
Yeah.
about it.
Sorry to.
I'm old enough to remember. I'm at Pepperidge Farm.
Anyway. That's great.
Remember.
Old enough, I remember.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all together, all the damn time. Lynne Versace, Butch Jones, Chris Sallow, Chris Canzaneri, Ryan Scow, Steve Keeler, and Sydney Taylor. I'm Pete Pardo. See you next week, everybody. Good night. Stay tuned for In the Prog Seat tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Woohoo!